Hey there, my name's Daniel White. Some people on the internet know me as Dansky. I'm a designer and instructor with Envato Tuts Plus, and in this course, we're going to learn all about getting started with Auto-Animate in Adobe XD. So what is Auto-Animate? Well, Auto-Animate is a simple yet powerful feature that essentially enables us to link together artboards in our prototype with some beautiful animation very, very easily. Animations similar to what you would expect to find in the real world or the digital world. But remember, this is all still just a prototype. So it's a great way to make your prototypes both look and function like a fully working product. And the reason I think Auto-Animate is so awesome is because it's just so easy to use. You have your object on an artboard, duplicate it on another artboard, you make some changes, whether it's size, position, rotation. XD automatically detects those changes and just creates that animation. It like fills in everything in the middle automatically, hence the name Auto-Animate. Now there are some pretty awesome things that you can create with Auto-Animate in XD, but if you're new to the feature itself, it can be pretty overwhelming at first. But don't worry, we're going to start right from the beginning, and by the end of this course, you will be well equipped to go out and confidently create your own auto-animated animations. That's a mouthful. And before we kick off the course, if you're looking to download a ton of creative assets that you can use within your own designs, then definitely check out Envato Elements. And if you like this example showing Auto-Animate in action, then you can download the full UI kit from Envato Elements using the link provided. Like literally one subscription gets you access to like over 1 million assets across a wide variety of categories. And remember, this is just literally one of like over 1 million assets that you can download, all included within one subscription. So it's definitely worth checking out. I've also prepared some XD files that are included. Think of these as like project files, and you can use these if you'd like to follow along as we progress throughout the course. Okie dokie, so that's a brief introduction to what Auto-Animate is. Let's get started and I'll see you in the course. Hello and welcome back to the course, and if you just came from the intro, thank you for deciding to take the course. In this quick video, we're going to jump into XD. I'm going to run you through the interface, the tools, some of the features. So if you've never used it before, I'm going to try and bring you up to speed. If you have used it, then great. This is just going to be a little bit of a refresher. So we'll jump into XD now and I'll just run you through Adobe XD in general. Okay, so you can see we're now in XD. We have a new artboard. Now, usually you're greeted by the welcome screen. So if I just bring this up here, you've got the welcome screen, lots of presets for mobile, tablet, desktop, or you can enter a custom size. So this is the welcome screen. You can view your recent items and a few other useful links. Now I've already got an artboard, so we'll close this down. So at the top here, we have the selection tool. Underneath, a few different tools, so we can create various shapes here. Underneath that, we've got the line tool to, of course, as you might expect, draw lines. And we've also got the pen tool that allows you to draw custom shapes. Although definitely not that. I don't know what that shape was meant to be, but I'm sure you'll create something better. And underneath this, we have the text tool that you can use to create text, which is always good. Next, we've got the artboard tool that allows you to create artboards to any size you'd like, or you've got presets over here on the right-hand side for some of the most popular devices today. We also have the zoom tool that allows you to zoom in and out of your document. And that's pretty much the main toolbar. So think of this toolbar in the top left corner as the toolbar that you would use to create things. Now, if we go down here to the bottom left, we have the asset panel. Now this is made up of 3 parts. We have colors, character styles, and components. So if I just throw down a red circle really quickly, I can click on the plus next to color, and I can add this color here. Now, if you have a really complex document, lots of artboards, lots of different assets going on, what you can use this for is amazing. You can save so much time with this. So we could right click on this here and you can edit that color. So if I just throw down a few more instances of this circle, use your imagination and just pretend this is a fantastic app full of lots of red color. I can right click this color in the asset panel and I can change it to blue, just like that. So if I scrub through this now, you can see I can change the color just so effortlessly. It's absolutely fantastic. And I can do the same for character styles or components. So a component might be an icon, a logo, just assets that you reuse throughout the document. You define it as a component, and then you can just create multiple versions of it and edit the master version, and it updates all of them just in one go. So the asset panel, if you work in Adobe XD on larger documents, is going to be your friend. Right, underneath we have layers. Now, If you've ever used Photoshop or Illustrator, this should be hopefully familiar to you. So every time you create objects, they are added as their own layer, like so. And you can of course double click on them and give them a name if you like. And you can stack layers up one on top of the other, and you can reorder them as well. You can lock them or you can hide them completely. So those are layers. And down here we have the plugins panel. This is fantastic. You can expand the capabilities of what XD can actually do with these third-party plugins. There's lots of free ones, some of them are paid, but essentially just whip out the panel, go to the top, click plus, and then you can just literally find plugins here, install, and boom, it's there in your panel. And once it's installed, you can twizzle this down, this little arrow, and you get access to all the functions. And this is just a really convenient place for you to whip out that panel, have your plugins there while you're working. Okay, so that's pretty much the left side. Next, we're going to go and have a look at the property inspector on the right. So if I just create a shape, let's go with a polygon. There we go. So we've got a three-sided shape. Now the property inspector on the right is contextual. So depending on what I select on the artboard, it's going to show me a slightly different set of properties. Most are the same, like your width, your height, your position, but some of them like this will have a few unique ones. So let's take a look now. So you can see here on the property inspector on the right, I can edit the width and height of this triangle that I've got selected. I can adjust the X and Y position as well. I can adjust things like rotation or flip this around. I can reduce the opacity. Now this is something unique to the polygon tool. I can actually increase the number of sides. So we could increase this to 8 and I get an octagon. We can adjust things like the fill color, maybe the border color. I could change that to red. I can increase the border size, lots of different properties. You can add shadows to it, or you can add a background blur, or just blur the object altogether. So that is the property inspector. Now it's probably worth mentioning that there are a few differences between Mac and PC. You can see I'm on the Mac version here. So on Windows, you won't have this menu bar at the top. It will be contained within a slide out menu in the top left corner. And this object menu here, where you have things like mask with shape and a few other options, because you won't have this bar in Windows, you will access that by right clicking. So if you're unsure, just look in that slide out menu in the top left corner, or if you're on Windows, just right click and you should get access to a few more options than on the Mac. Okay, so we've done the tools, we've done the property inspector. Next, we're going to jump into prototype mode. So I'm just going to create a few artboards and I'm just going to create a shape, a really simple shape. And I'm just going to click on this shape with the layers panel open and give it a name. Now, when you're auto-animating, it's very important that your objects from one artboard to another have the same name. So I'm just going to copy the name my-circle and make sure all of these circles have the same name, because I'm going to auto-animate this in a moment. If they have different names, auto-animate won't work. It will just fade between them rather than do like a really nice slide, what I'm going to do. Okay, so they're all named the same on the artboards. And what I can do now is switch over from design mode to prototype mode at the top. And I can actually click on these circles and then drag the blue tab to the artboard. So I get some properties up here for that interaction. We have the trigger, which is a tap or a click. The action, of course, is an auto-animate. There's going to be a lot of that in this course. And here I can choose the easing type. So we'll go with bounce because it's like a round thing, a ball. And I can choose the duration. So we'll go with 1 second. So then I can click on this circle here, this ball, drag this over here, and we'll choose a different one just to show you. Ease in, out is always a nice one. It eases in and out of the transition quite nicely. And we'll do that over the course of 0.5 seconds. And then what I can do is I can link this all the way back to the beginning. And we'll go with wind up, just to show you a few different types of easing. So we've linked all our artboards together. We've made the circle clickable. What I can do now is click on an artboard, press play in the top right corner, and I can preview this. So I can click and you can see that auto-animate with those various transitions plays out. And there's also a record button up here as well. So I can actually record my session in this window and then save that as a video file. Okay. So once you've done your prototype, you've designed it, you've linked it up, animated it, it's looking fantastic, you can actually share it. So from the top right corner, you can click on share and you can go share for review. You can also manage any links that you've already shared. So with share for review, we can give this a name. You get some various different settings here for what you allow. And then you can choose if this is an invite only or like a public link. And then you can click create link and it will generate the link. And then you get a link that you can then go and share with people. And that is available online to view in a browser or on a device. So there we go. There's a really quick look at Adobe XD, an overview of some of the tools and features. Hopefully this was helpful and I look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Hello there, welcome back to the course. Okay, so we've had a quick recap of Adobe XD. We're going to jump into Auto-Animate now, and I'm going to show you more about how you can use this awesome feature to adjust position, size, and rotation of objects within XD. So we'll jump to the screen. Okay, so you can see I have a document. Think of this as like a practice document. You can download this in the project files, and essentially we're going to animate the position of this button to here, adjust the size, and then adjust the rotation. I know you normally wouldn't have a button kind of go at an angle like this, but it's just for practice. Okay, so first of all, I've got my button here. Let's click on this, whip out the layers panel. You can see the text and the shape containing it. They're both separate objects. We want to animate this button as one object. So the first thing to do is to select both the text and the rectangle by holding Shift. You can do this on the artboard itself or in the layers panel. And we're just going to right click, select group, and we'll give this a name. So I'm going to call it button. Now both the text and the shape will move together as one. So once that's done, I can close the layers panel down. And I'm then going to go up to Edit. Remember, if you're on a PC, you're going to right click instead and copy. Click on this next artboard, Edit and Paste. And what I'm going to do is move the position of this down. Okay, so we've done that. The position's all good. Next, I'm going to edit and copy. Click on the next artboard and paste this again. So now what I can do is I can actually click and drag from the edge. You can see Adobe XD resizes the button, but doesn't actually resize or skew the text, which is really helpful. Now it's only doing it from one side. So if I hold down Alt or Option on the keyboard, it will do it from both sides. So this is a great way to adjust the height of a button if you've already centrally aligned everything. So let's increase the size of this, maybe pop that down a bit. Little bit taller. There we go, fantastic. You can also double click to instantly go inside a group and edit one particular object. So you don't have to ungroup it and then regroup it after. Just double click to go inside, make the change, and then just click anywhere to come out of the group. So I'm going to click on this last one, copy it, select the last artboard, edit and paste. And I'm going to hover over the corner so I can rotate this freely like so. Or I can hold down Shift and it will snap to 15-degree increments. And remember, of course, you can adjust the rotation. It's one of the properties up here in the property inspector on the right. So we've created all of the different states. I'm going to do one more actually, just to show you. I'm going to do this on the last one. So I'm going to double click to go inside, select the button, the box itself, and I'm going to round off the corner. So if I type in 100 here for the corner radius, it makes it like a pill shape. This is another property that is compatible with Auto-Animate. So as the third artboard transitions to the fourth, it's going to round those corners as well. It'll look really nice, trust me. So we've got all of our artboards. Let's go to prototype mode and we can click on the button. Now, because we grouped these two together, you can see we have one tab coming off of these. So it's going to be treated as one object, which is great. So we can click and drag. It's going to be a tap trigger. There are a few others, but we're going to use tap. Of course, good old Auto-Animate there. And the transition. Well, let's try a few to have some fun with this. So we've got the ease in, out. We'll go for 0.8 seconds. And then we'll click on the next one. And we're just going to basically just join these all up. I'm going to change out the easing on every different one, just to have a bit of variety in there. And we'll try wind up as well. And then I think what we'll do is we'll link this back to the beginning. It's always nice to loop it round. So have a go yourself at doing that. And then if this is all done correctly, which fingers crossed it is, we can now click play. And by clicking on the button, you'll see it moves to there. It then gets bigger. it then turns sideways and rounds off the corners, and then it goes all the way back to the beginning. And you're going to see a lot of complex auto-animates, I'm sure, but all of them start with these basics of being able to edit the size, the position, and the rotation, and a few other properties on the objects in XD. So there we go. That wraps it up for this lesson, and I'll see you in the next one. Wow, back for more. Okay, in this lesson, we're going to take a look at staggering animation with Auto-Animate in Adobe XD. So we'll jump to the screen now and get started. Okay, so you can see here in the project file, I have two artboards. I've named them Staggering 1 and Staggering 2. We've got a button that says Stagger Me and another button that says You Got It. So if I whip out the Layers panel, you can see here, if I click on this, we have some text and a rectangle. Now remember from the last video, first we need to group these together. So we'll select them both holding Shift, group them, and I'm going to call this one Button 1. Now remember, naming of your groups, your layers, is very important for XD to work. It looks at one particular artboard and then takes that object name and then matches it up on the other artboard. If the layer names and the folder names don't match, Auto-Animate won't work. So we've got Button 1. And I'm going to do the same here. So we'll group this second button together, and this is going to be Button 2. Fantastic. So what I want to happen is I want Button 1 to move out, and then Button 2 to come in, and then do the same, but the other way around. So Button 2 goes out, and Button 1 comes in. But I want to do this in a staggered way. So first of all, what I'm going to do is switch over to prototype mode, and I'm going to click on this button and just link it over here. Now we'll set the transition to Auto-Animate, of course. I'm going to go with ease in out, 0.6 on the duration, and then I'm going to link this button back to the beginning with the same settings. So we've created the link. What we need to do now though is we need to move these around. So I've got Button 1 here. I'm going to go to Edit, Copy. Remember on PC, you're going to right click and copy there. And then I'm going to select the second artboard and I'm going to paste it in. Now what I'm going to do is hold down Shift on my keyboard and use the down arrow key. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the reason I'm using the arrow keys is because it allows me to move this button a set number of increments. If I drag with my mouse, it's going to be quite inconsistent between the different buttons. So we've done 15 down arrow presses. I think that's fine. And then on this one here, I'm going to do the same. So select this, click on the other artboard, go Edit, Paste, hold Shift and press the up arrow key. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 15 each side. And if I click play, you'll see that it does this. So I know it's working, which is fantastic. Now I know it's working, what I can do is I can turn off, or not turn off, but I can select the one that I want to fade in and fade out, and I can reduce the opacity from the appearance panel on the right. So remember, these buttons are going to be in the middle. So because Auto-Animate detects the changes between artboards, what it's going to do is it's going to start with this one here. Remember, this is the You Got It. And as it starts from here at 0% opacity and moves over to the second artboard, it's going to move the position down and bring it to 100% opacity. The same for the purple one here. This is going to start here in the middle and it's going to fade out and move down. So if I click play, you can see that the buttons move around. Looks pretty cool, right? But the purpose of this lesson is staggering animation, and this is a really cool technique that you can use to just take your Auto-Animate designs to the next level. So that looks good, but good isn't enough here. So what I want to happen is I want the button to come in just a little bit before the text. So the text and the button it sits on just move a little independently of each other, essentially staggering that animation in stages. So if I double click here to go inside, of course it gets quite tricky now, I can't see what I'm doing. So sometimes what you might do is just do that, bring the opacity back up, make the changes and then turn it down again. So I'm going to double click to go inside, select the text, hold Shift and press up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you see the button is going to come in first, the text is going to come in just that little bit later. It can just have a really nice effect. So if I go down here as well, I'll just bring the opacity up Double click to go inside, and this time hold shift and press down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I can click play to check it works. There we go. Looks a bit weird, but it works. But now what I need to do is just select that group and then bring the opacity all the way to 0. And then if I click play, you'll see here there's that slight staggering on the animation where the button itself comes in and goes out just before the text arrives there. And there we go. There's a look at staggering animation in Adobe XD. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Okay, welcome back to the course. In this lesson, we're going to take a look at animating masks with Auto-Animate in Adobe XD. So we'll jump to the screen now and get started. Okie dokie, so you can see I've opened up the project file for animating with masks, and what we're going to do in this video is do like a timer counter thing. So we have the button here that you've probably seen in previous videos, and we're going to click the text tool and type some text. And I can type a number. I'm going to press return, and I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is like vertical text, and I'm going to position this somewhere here. Just zoom in a little bit to make sure I get that number vertically aligned. And then what I'm going to do is hold Alt or Option and just drag some copies out. You can also hold Shift as well, and it just keeps it in line, stops it moving up and down like that. And there you go. Oh, look at those smart guides. Really helpfully just lines everything up. So this counter is going to start on 1, 1, 1, 1. And then I'm going to select everything, go to Edit, Copy. Remember, if you're on a PC, just go right click, copy there. And I'm going to paste this over onto this second artboard. And if I just look at the layers panel, we've got rectangle there. And this one is called rectangle as well. Remember, those layer names are incredibly important. And we've got these here. Now at the moment, these layer names are all the same, so I'm going to need to give these some names. So we'll go column-1, and then I'm just going to go through and name them accordingly. So they auto-animate independently of each other. So we've got column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4. If they're all the same, Auto-Animate's not going to know which one, and it won't work, trust me. So name all of your columns independently. Now I've just named all of these over here, so I'm just going to need to select all of these, delete or backspace, and then just copy and paste them back over so I don't have to go and rename all of these layers. So what I can do now is if I select this one here, this shape, go to Edit, Copy, Edit, and Paste. I'm just going to move this up out of the way a little bit, and I'm going to give this a super bright color. It doesn't matter what color it is because we will get rid of it in a moment. And I'm going to use this as a mask for the numbers. So what a mask does is it will keep everything that I have within that mask contained within that shape. So if the box that I'm using, this button shape, is the mask, then anything outside of that shape will just be invisible. You won't be able to see it. So if I bring this down and make sure the mask is on top, I can just call this mask for the time being. And then I'm going to select all of the text layers that I want to be included within that mask. I just right click, and if you're on Windows, you'll see it here. If you're on a Mac, go up to Object, just look for the option Mask with Shape. And there we go. So that mask is now called Mask Group 1. I can expand this down. We've still got the mask here. You can, of course, turn this off if you want to preview them. But the bright green shape that we had, that is now a mask. A mask, you can't see it, but it's there. It's acting on the objects or the text layers contained within it. So now I have these number ones, but you can see the mask is still there, even though you can't see it, and you can see it up here in the layers panel as well. So I've masked the numbers. We still have our colored rectangle behind it, and I'm just going to copy and paste this over to here now. So again, I didn't really need these on here. It's always good to do the kind of setup first. We'll go to Edit and Copy, and then Edit and Paste on the second artboard. You can do them independently, but it's just a slightly smarter way of working to do it when you've done it up front, because you've named all your layers. You don't want to go and name it and mask it all again. So that only copied the masked group. So I need to go in here and just select this object as well. Make sure I copy that layer over to this one, Edit and Paste, and then I just need to drag that underneath. So remember, you can reorganize your layers as well. Okay, So now we've done all this, what I can do is I can double click to go inside the mask. It kind of functions similarly to a group. And then I can actually select these individual text layers and move these around. So if I want the number to auto-animate to, well, let's have something quite drastic. So 4, we'll have it animate to 5. This next one will go to 2, and then maybe another 4 over here. So you see all of this, all these numbers around the outside, looks quite messy, but remember we have a mask. So anything outside of the mask shape is going to be invisible. So it only shows it when you're working inside the mask. As soon as I click outside on the pasteboard here, you can see the mask is reapplied. Now, all of this, I don't know if those numbers are in line, so I'm going to hover over the top of my artboard and just drag a guide down just to make sure everything is in line. Then I can double click, go inside. Oh, not too bad. Oh, good job, Dan. Good job. So I'm just going to go back inside, and then I can go to view, down to guides, and I can just go hide all guides. We've got a shortcut there. There we go. So I've set everything up now from one artboard to another. The only thing left is the auto animate. So switch over to prototype mode. And then what I can do is, well, I could have this animate on a tap as we've done before, but let's do something different. So I'm going to click on the artboard itself. I see the same blue tab linked to this artboard. Now, instead of Adobe XD waiting for a tap, we're going to do a time delay. So I can specify a number of seconds. So we'll go with 2 seconds. So this action won't play until 2 seconds have passed. Of course, the action is, you guessed it, auto animate. And we can set the easing. We'll have, a little wind up, I think will look quite nice with this. And the transition will be 0.8 seconds long. And then we'll do the same over here. So we'll select this artboard, link it back, and we'll have the same transition. And this will happen again after 2 seconds. So if I go and click play now, we wait. You can see the counter plays that animation, and then it plays it back again. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this lesson. There's a look at how you can use auto-animate and masks together in Adobe XD, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Hey there, welcome back to the course. This is the final lesson for getting started with Auto-Animate in Adobe XD. Something a little bit more complicated than what we've done so far, but I'm gonna break it down. It's gonna be awesome. We're gonna jump to the screen now, and I can't wait to get started. Okay, so we're now in Adobe XD. You can see I've got a couple artboards already, and you can download and follow along with the project files. We have these called menu closed and menu open. So we're gonna have a navigation menu. We're gonna click, it's gonna come out, and then it's gonna go back in. Now I've created a navigation menu over here. It's very simplified, so we don't have any distractions, but we're gonna focus a lot on animating the menu icon. The 3 lines, the menu icon is gonna turn to a cross or a close icon, and then it's gonna go back, and it's gonna look really cool. So what we're gonna do first of all is create that icon. So if we grab the rectangle tool, left click, hold shift to make a perfect square. So there we go, something like this. And then what I'm gonna do is round off the corners, so I can use the up and down arrow keys in the radius box on the right. So we go for, let's go for 8. And I can use the eyedropper tool just to match the color of the menu I've created here. And we'll just deselect that border. There we go. Now I'm gonna zoom in a little bit now. Select the line tool, just left click, hold shift to make sure my line is straight. And then what I'm gonna do is increase the width to, let's go for, we'll go for 4 pixels in size, make the color white, and I'm gonna round off the stroke. So either end of the stroke or the border is just rounded off nicely. And then what I'm gonna do is press Command or Control D on the keyboard just to duplicate the selected object. And there we go. Now what I'm gonna do is hold shift and select all of these lines, and we're gonna need to group these together. So if I just whip out the layers panel quickly, you can see at the moment we have line 7, 8, and 9. That's no good, we need to kind of name these a bit better. So first of all, let's right click, group them together. We can expand that group, and I'm just gonna name this menu. And the lines, I'm gonna call this one top, middle, and then the last one, bottom. and I can't leave them like that. I have to reorganize them so top is on the top and bottom is on the bottom. Now remember, we're going to be auto-animating these lines, but each line has to have its own name. If they all have the same name, XD is going to get confused. I'm going to get confused. No one's going to know what's going on. So we have to give them their own name. And a group name doesn't hurt either. It's just nice, good practice to kind of keep everything organized. So now that's in a group, I could select this, hold shift and select the box it's in. And I could use the align tools in the top right corner. You can see it just nudges that there into position. Or you could also select the lines, right click and select align to pixel grid if you're going for pixel perfect artwork. So depends what you're doing. I'm going to keep it not pixel perfect because I want it like right in the middle. But there we go, we've created and set up our menu icon. Now I could go in, double click to go inside that group, maybe just bring them a little bit closer together. I could select them all and just decrease that size. There we go, something like this. Now, because I've kind of named everything, layered it, grouped it, and it's all good, what I can do now is copy and paste this over to this artboard here. So what I'm going to do is first of all, group this with the box. So remember we talked about this before in the original, one of the earlier videos, that we grouped the text with the actual container it was in because we want them to move together. So I'm going to select both the menu icon and the box, right click and group. And I'm going to call this, I'll call it menu button. And then with that selected, I can go edit copy, paste it over here on this artboard and then paste and then move this to the right. So as the menu comes out, this menu icon is going to slide to the right and then it's going to turn to a cross and then vice versa when the menu closes. So because I've named all these layers and grouped everything and all that stuff, what I can do now is I can double click to go inside these groups. And so I can select the individual lines and I'm actually going to turn this one off. I'm then going to move the top one down to the middle. And if you don't see any rotate icon here when you hover around the corner, you can just go up here in the property inspector, enter a value of 45 degrees and rotate it. And I'm going to do the same here. So into the middle and rotate this by -45. So it goes into a cross like so. Now the cross looks a little bit smaller than the menu icon. It's just the nature of the icon. So I'm actually going to click on these lines and just scale them up from the center. Remember holding Alt or Option as I'm scaling. So there we go. So first of all, we're just going to check this works. So we'll jump into prototype mode. Click on this button so the whole thing is clickable and I can drag this over here. Set the action as an auto animate. We've already got our tap trigger done. We're going to have snap. Snap's a good one. And we'll go 0.6 seconds. And then when they click on the cross or the close icon, we want it to go back to this one. So it's a good idea every now and then to just kind of set up your auto animate, check it all works before you get too far into it, because you can get really, really far ahead and then realize that something's gone wrong somewhere. So I like to kind of problem solve any issues as I go along. And what we can do now is click play. And we'll see if I've done this correctly. So there we go. Slides backwards and forwards. We've got a nice snap easing animation. The menu icon becomes a cross and it goes back. Oh, I could play with that all day. Fantastic. So that works, so that's good. So next we're going to do the menu. So in Adobe XD, if you drag an object from an artboard out to the pasteboard, what it will typically do is if you only have one instance of that, it will move it from the artboard to the pasteboard. So how do we animate something from outside of an artboard without it being on the pasteboard? Because if an object is on the pasteboard, we can't animate to or from it. You can only animate between artboards. So I have this here. I'm just going to jump back into design mode. This is the menu I prepared earlier. So we'll snap that in place. I need this to animate from out here, but you can see as I move it outside, it goes on the pasteboard, and that's no good. I need it to stay as part of this animation, as part of this artboard. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I've already set up my auto animate. So if I copy this and paste this over here, it's now on both artboards. So if I try dragging it out again, you can see that it doesn't go onto the pasteboard. And that's because if you set up an Auto-Animate in Adobe XD and you have an object or a layer and it's on both artboards, XD recognizes that that is part of an animation. And if you move it outside the artboard, it won't move it onto the pasteboard or a different artboard. It will keep it as part of that artboard, which is great because now I can fade objects in from outside the bounds of an artboard. So this menu here, this is going to be 70 pixels outside. It's going to slide in and then slide back out. So you can see it here because I have it selected. As soon as I click off it and I click on the pasteboard, everything outside the artboard disappears. But if I go to play now, and I play this, you can see the menu slides in as well as the icon, and it slides out. So once you've set up one Auto-Animate, you can have multiple things on an artboard that will just all be part of that animation. And there we go. That wraps up the course, Getting Started with Auto-Animate in Adobe XD. I hope you enjoyed it. This is everything that you need to know to really go out and start creating awesome auto-animated animations yourself. I really hope you enjoyed the course. Remember, there's project files that you've seen in the videos that you can use to follow along with. My name's been Daniel White, also known as Dansky, and yeah, have fun with Auto-Animate, and I will see you soon.